Now, let's go back to our press conference. What we want to do is declare an array of strings that holds all our news outlet names. Something that looks like this. To do that, we type in string followed by the square brackets, which means that we're creating an array of strings, and then the name of our array, in this case news outlet, followed by equals and the curly brackets, and inside we list all the values we want to store. Then say we want to pick a certain value in the array, we just go ahead and say system.out.print and then news outlet of index 2. So we're basically pointing to the string of index 2, 0, 1, 2, which is going to be CNN, so the output is CNN. And basically we've chosen someone to ask the first question. But in our initial problem, we wanted this to be random. We wanted to randomly pick a news outlet. Well, if you remember, we used math.random earlier to generate random numbers for us. This might come in handy now. Just like we did before, we will generate a random number and store it into the double variable lucky. So we go double lucky equals math.random. Remember that this generates a random number between 0 and 1. So we need to multiply that by 10 to get a fractional number between 0 and 10, which is the number of news outlets that we have. Remember that lucky times equals 10 is just multiplying lucky by 10 and updating itself with that new value. And then we want to cast that variable into an integer so that we don't get a fractional number anymore, but we get a whole integer number that's between 0 and 9. The way we do casting is we just write the type that we want to cast it to between brackets just before the variable name here, and then we can store that in an integer called lucky index. So now we end up with this lucky index variable that is between 0 and 9, and it is an integer, so we can access any particular part of the array. So the last thing we want to do is print out the name of the news outlet who we randomly picked. So we go ahead and say system.out.print, and then we say news outlet square brackets lucky index. So based on the random number that was generated, this lucky index can be anything between 0 and 9, so we randomly pick one of those and display it in the print screen. Let's trace a few examples and see what's happening. Assume that math.random generated a number that's equal to 0.423. The first thing we do is we multiply it by 10, making it 4.23, and then we cast it into an integer, throwing away the fractional part, so that becomes just 4. So our lucky index is 4, so the last line just prints out news outlet of 4. And what is news outlet of 4? It's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's this string here, which is AP. If our random number that was generated was 0.987, so that's in lucky, we multiply that by 10, giving us 9.87. And then we cast that into an integer, so we throw away that fractional part, giving us 9. And then we print out news outlet of 9, which happens to be Al Jazeera. The same happens for any value that is generated for our variable lucky, because we always multiply it by 10 and then cast it into an integer. So there we go.